I found the $200,000 of missing Lego. There's no of there, but I added it because it makes more sense grammatically. I say we just started, chat. I'm a little behind. Already has 5.4 million views, and we saw it when it had like 400,000. So let's do it, chat. Let's do it. If you guys are on the YouTube, make sure to like up the stream. If you guys are on Twitch, make sure to follow no matter where you're at. Turn on the post notice so you can be notified whenever I go live, baby.
A $200,000 Lego collection went missing, causing a lot of you to ask me to find it. And after seeing the cops point guns at YouTubers, people get arrested and sued for $1.3 million, I decided enough was enough.
What? Wait, I never got that info. Reckless Bet is being sued for $1.3 million? Wait. Okay, wait. Honestly, actually, now that like thinking about it, maybe 1.3 million isn't enough because everybody fucking hates this company right now. I would be so curious to see how terribly the franchises are doing right now.
This looks like a case for the internet detective, this time in the $10 million Lego studio. So I talked to every suspect involved. What I found shocked me.
I feel like Coffeezilla is like the perfect guy for this.
Missing Legos, let's give some back.
Sorry, I just wanted to skip it.
A massive Star Wars collection was put on consignment at a Lego store called Bricks and Minifigs in
Chad, can we skip this? I feel like we all know, like we don't need a summary. I feel like we should just skip this part.
Salem, Oregon. And he was supposed to get a collection, and a social media post at 24 franchise owners of the Salem store got kicked out by ran a sister store, and Josh would be taking over the franchise, is getting handed over. The question is Brian's collection in it? Here's what the official Bricks and Minifigs press release reads, quote, after taking over the store, we discovered a small number of sets valued between $2,000 to $5,000 that could be possibly related to Mr. Mansell's collection. But there's a problem here. There should be over 10 times that amount in this store, given their internal records and what we know the estimated value of this collection was. So if corporate's saying there was only $2,000 to $5,000 in the store, something happened to these Legos. But what? In order to solve this case, let's think about the suspects. First, who was there that night of the handover? It's only 3 people. Crystal and Ben Gorman, the former franchise owners, and Brandon Best, one of the new owners. These are our 3 biggest suspects, but they aren't the only ones. I do have to say, y'all, I feel like, and like I still think Bricks and Minifigs in some way, shape, or form, the conglomeration, is more responsible of this. I do have to say, I think we've skated by the culpability of the previous owners in terms of like, it sounds like, and this is all he said, she said through the grapevine of what random things have come up in like previous videos that I feel like have actually been skipped over. It sounds like Bricks and Minifigs might have been, quote unquote, justified a tiny bit to like take away the store from the previous owners, which I think deserves a little bit of research or a little bit of investigation. I want to address a few other suspects at the very start here. First of all, maybe this is just all the result of, plain old thieves breaking in.
Hey, no worries, Anna.
That possibility.
Have a good time with your dad.
I'm Chris. I was the previous franchise owner who signed the collection agreement with Brian Mansell.
And I'm Benjamin Gorman. I am the silent partner who's really bad at being silent.
We did have a couple of break-ins at the store. None of Brian's collections were in the police report or stolen during those.
Okay, so the Gormans say emphatically it wasn't thieves, but if that's the case, what about the guy who was arrested? I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Reckless Ben. This is the YouTuber who started it all. With a documentary, I tracked down the thief who stole $200,000 of Lego. Maybe it's the perfect crime. Make a video tracking yourself. Now, for our theory, it's worth noting Ben is currently facing a RICO lawsuit by Bricks and Minifigs.
RICO?
He was even targeted with a search warrant for stolen Legos.
Dude, RICO is insane. Wait, Chad, does that mean that like the FBI is involved in shit? Because RICO is like insanely serious. RICO, oh my God, what does RICO stand for? It's like racketeering something. But it basically is like a way where like it's typically been used with like the mafia or the mob or like gangs where like you, under certain circumstances, you can charge everyone involved for something that like maybe one person did. At least that's my understanding, is like that's what a RICO lawsuit is for. Racketeer, influence, and corrupt organizations. Exactly. Like, that's insane. That's actually fucking crazy, chat.
The owner reported overhearing conversations about possible stolen Legos.
Like, if anybody should be charged for racketeering, it's this fucking police department and maybe even the Mormon church.
And on top of that, Reckless Ben was even accused of stealing the Legos by the current franchise owner.
I stole the Legos?
What do you think of the theory that it was Reckless Ben? He stole the Legos.
It's absurd. We didn't even know Reckless Ben. He had no interaction, no relation to us, no relation to the store. That doesn't hold any water.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Apologies to the genius cops in Utah who play different.
We play differently here.
But I don't believe that Reckless Ben stole the Lego, mostly because he couldn't. He just wasn't there that night, and I don't even think he knew about these Legos. But who does Ben suspect is holding the Legos, since he did this whole documentary series?
The guy who runs the entire company.
The fucking evil mustache guy. God, he has to shave that thing. There's no way. Like, I'm sorry, like, women, you guys gotta chime in here, but like, you see a guy walk up to you with that mustache, you're laughing at him, right? Like, I'm just so sorry, bro. If I was a woman and some dude walked up to me with that fucking mustache, my shit would go dry. My shit would go so dry.
McNeff, he personally came out to talk to us.
So what's going on?
So you guys are holding some of our Legos?
No, we're not.
You're not?
No.
Is that a lie?
No.
That's a lie. You did take the Legos.
No. So we have, our attorneys have visited, like, again, so.
Doesn't later in this, doesn't he go, what are you talking about? What Legos? Even though he just said that they don't have them, implying that he knew which Legos they were talking about?
Brian Mansell.
Okay, and who is that?
He's a guy who had he had like $200,000 worth of Legos in your guys' store.
Nope. Never happened.
My name is Ammon McNeff. I am the CEO of the Bricks and Minifigs brand.
So my name's Matt McNeff. I'm the COO of Bricks and Minifigs.
The people you just saw are the McNeff brothers. They agreed to speak with me to try to clear their name. I asked them, do they have the Legos?
What I can tell you is that we don't have it. We've never had access to them.
It seems to kind of go missing. Parts of it seem to go missing on November 14th.
Well, and I guess no, not at all. I'm going to say, like that is not accurate at all. Because
So you think that the collection was in the store at the time or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. When you look at Mansell's own words that he reiterated to a podcast last year, he explicitly stated to another podcaster, the sets were moved off-site for security.
The collection will not be stored on-site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
Now,
wait, let me read that again. The collection will not be stored on-site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere. Okay, interesting.
Site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
Now, one thing that's been a big subject of the Bricks and Minifigs kind of story is, hey, there are these off-site locations. Can you address what that is? Is that true?
So the off-site location and the letter that that corporate is referring to is the original press release that we released when we were launching the collection. In that press release, because we had previous break-ins, I specifically included the location that after this weekend, those Legos would be stored off-site to deter any future thefts. They were briefly stored off-site after that launch weekend while I bought safes for the back room, and then they were moved back into the store.
Okay, so for most of the time, the sets were in the store after y'all got the safes in.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so just so you guys follow along, they wrote that press release to kind of deter people from trying to steal those Legos from their store and break into the store, and they did store them offsite for like the first couple weeks until they got safes that they could put in the back and put those Legos in. So according to the former, owners, the Legos were on site. I'm guessing it's implied when the store was taken over by the new owners.
McNeff suspects
in the safes in the back of the store. Ding, ding.
A lot of the Legos weren't there that night. And then on the other hand, we just heard from Crystal and Ben Gorman explaining the offsite story, saying that later they no longer used those offsite locations. But what do we really know about the Gormans? They are the former franchise owners after all. I mean, shouldn't we be suspicious of everyone? They're one of our key suspects. They were there the night we lost Brian's collection. They were the creators of the consignment deal after all. And one group in particular is pointing their finger at them very hard. It's the McNeffs who say they were behind on payments.
We started getting calls from the landlord letting us know that Crystal was behind on the lease payments at the location. We had also gotten a couple of notices from some of our vendor partners that bills had not been paid by the store. And so we felt pretty strongly that there was going to be a risk of her just, like attempting to file bankruptcy, doing some of these other types of things, which we've had franchisees do in the past, and that's problematic. So that's why we sent him up there to take some video footage. So we needed to just be prepared if we needed to do a hostile takeover, which, can happen in franchising where a franchise owner just, kind of tries to steal inventory and do some different things that way.
Okay, so Bricks and Minifig's story is that they were worried about the Gormans skipping town, so they sent Brandon Best as a secret shopper on October 24th, 2024. This is weeks before the takeover. Brandon takes a video of the store condition in preparation for this handover, but at this point, Brandon does not announce himself to Crystal Gorman. Later, though, on November 14th, once again, the same concern about the Gormans stealing or theft was expressed by the McNeffs.
Brandon was trying to make sure that they weren't taking things from the store, and so he was kind of trying to make sure that he wasn't putting things, like hiding things in the back, and that and while he was watching that, trying to make sure Ben wasn't grabbing stuff from the store and moving it or doing anything along those lines, because he just got a weird feeling about the whole transition.
She took at least one, if not more than one, cartfuls of things out to her car with her coat draped over it.
So yeah, the McNeffs say, look, they don't trust the Gormans.
Okay. Interesting. So they're putting all the blame on the previous owners and saying that they're the ones who've been stealing stuff.
And they explained it, even further. They said, hey, there's some issues in her past.
She apparently has a retail theft and other criminal arrests on her record that we were not aware of.
When was that?
I don't know. This has been brought out by several people online now.
All right, bro. You can't sit there and be like, woe is me. We didn't do our due diligence doing the research on if this person that we were going to give a franchise to did or didn't have criminal records. Even if what he's saying is true, I'm like, okay, even honestly, I want to be transparent. Even if for some reason these guys aren't the bad guys and it really was the previous store owners, I still put the blame on Bricks and Minifigs. At the end of the day, Bricks and Minifigs is liable, no matter what, to cover for any of the franchisees that they bring in. If your franchisee turned out to be a bad person, that's on you. If you didn't do your due diligence to figure out if this person committed crimes and you gave them a franchise and then they committed crimes underneath your franchise name, that is on you. I can't possibly see how he's just like, well, because of that, we're off scot-free. They're still the bad guys, even with what this fuck-ass is saying.
Now, look, that's a huge accusation to bring up, and so obviously I wanted to talk to the Gormans about it.
They're like, she has a history of some type of burglary, theft.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nope.
Well, yes.
Well,
you
explain.
know about this.
Explain.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old.
How long ago is that?
I am 45 now.
Oh.
So this was in 1999. This something that happened 25 years ago has no reflection and no bearing on what happened in the last 2 years, my management of the store, what happened the night corporate seized the store. It is another deflection. And it infuriates me. You're gonna try to publicly embarrass and shame me for somebody that was manipulated by local police departments when she was pregnant and 19 years old? Fuck you. That's my response to that. I am so sorry. You're gonna have to blur and cut a lot of this, but that pisses me off. I own what I have done. I own.
Did they censor pisses? Is pisses a bad thing to say now? Sorry. My YouTube brain is burring. I'm like, that is never anything I would ever think of bleeping.
The mistakes that I have made, you cannot intimidate and bully me into backing down when I know that legally and morally I am in the right and I have the evidence to back it up.
Wow. This is getting kind of nasty and personal at this point, and I just wanted to give people kind of their side. But at every turn, I hope you understand, I'm getting contradictory stories, down to if the McNeffs knew about her history in the first place.
Like, they're bringing up something that I told them about.
Wait, you told them?
Told them. They asked me.
They said they had no idea. They said if we knew, we would have never hired her.
Because we would not have hired her had we known this.
I told them I had a record from when I was 18. There was a family issue that, and didn't go into all of the details, but they were like, that's so long ago, we're gonna hire you based on who you are now.
Okay,
I'm inclined to believe her, because here's my brain. I'm applying for a franchise that I really, really want. I'm going to tell them everything because it's better optics if I tell them, hey, just so you know, because you're probably, hopefully, going to do your due diligence and figure out this on your own. I have a record from when I was 18. That was, I don't even know, 25 years ago. I don't remember how, 25, 26 years ago. Like, yeah, I can do math. 1999 is what she said. That's a lot of years ago. Isn't that 27 years? I thought she said 25. I'm getting lost. I'm getting off topic. That was 25 years ago. I am a different person. I hope that when you find that, you look, here's all the information that you need. I hope that you would give me the chance that this is not who I am 25 years later or whatever, right? Like, that to me makes more sense than trying to hide it. If you're a smart person who's trying to start a business, that is the right move if you're trying to open up a franchise.
Just gonna leave it there.
Also, we know the bricks and minifigs motherfuckers be lying anyways, so I'm kind of biased to believe the person who, so far hasn't shown us evidence that they've been lying.
You make up your own mind. My point is, one side says up, the other says down, and it gets to the point both sides start hinting that they have photographic proof from the night of November 14th that proves the other side is lying. And so I'm like, look, at this point, let's stop talking. Show me the Legos.
Where I was told we are 100% have possession of photos that prove that the Gormans are lying. And then you guys are telling me we 100% have possession of photos that prove this side's lying. Who's gonna drop the photos first? I feel like someone just has to, somebody's right here.
And after a lot of convincing, both sides agreed to show me the photos, corporate and the Gormans. In fact, I scheduled the calls to do this an hour apart from each other. But let's remember their positions for a second. The Gormans say whatever was left unsold of Brian's collection that was in that store spreadsheet was in Salem store the night of November 14th. Okay. Then you have corporate side. They say whatever was left that night was maybe $2,000 to $5,000 of Legos. The rest was either stolen by thieves, the Gormans, or held off site. It was not in that store. And on both sides, there's a lot to lose here, right? You've got the Gormans, who basically have been insinuated to have been stealing. And for Josh and Brandon too, the new franchise owners, there's a lot on the line. I reached out to Josh and he told me, I think
he's gonna read it.
Her pictures would only show a few sets and minifigs. I replied, so if I can prove that the Lego sets were in the store, that will prove Brandon was lying. Josh replies, if it shows something different, then yes, I will eat my words. So this
we've been knew Josh has been fucking like that man. We literally have video evidence of him going back on his word. Like promising something, being proved wrong and then doing the opposite.
Have been established. And let's see the evidence, starting with Matt McNeff. First, he showed me the video, October 24th, 2024, for a baseline of how the store looked.
So this is the Salem Kaiser location, is that correct?
Salem Kaiser location, yes.
So is it fair to say I'm seeing quite a few Legos here? I mean, I'm seeing a store of Legos. You'd agree?
There's a good amount of Lego
really bad
on hand. This
What is
is
bro recording with a fucking toaster, a fucking camera from 2004? Like, what the fuck?
I would say is a well-stocked Bricks and Minifigs, but it's not terrible. It's I would say a little below average as far as overall stock. So now let's go to November 14th. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So November 14th, when Brandon was in there helping.
Wait, this is the day. This is like the big day.
This is the day.
Hold on, I gotta prep myself emotionally for this.
Okay.
This is a big deal. This is D-Day.
What's up, Nicole?
This is the big moment. This is Brandon takes over the store. We don't know where the Legos are after this moment.
We don't know where the Legos are after this moment. And I want to point out again that we've had this for a while. We haven't this is the first time we've shown this publicly. We've been waiting for our attorneys to give us the approval to say, hey, this is okay now to share in this capacity. So we'll go through these pictures. This is what Josh saw, or not Josh, sorry, Brandon saw. He took pictures of everything in the store, all the inventory in the store. This is what the shelves looked like compared to what you just saw a moment ago.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot less. Just to state the obvious, go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like way less.
So yeah, the pictures I was being shown on November 14th, those shelves looked emptier than they did on the day of October 24th. But to be fair to the Gormans, they addressed the empty shelves themselves.
As we get to the very end of this video in particular, right here, you'll see that empty space right here. So this is the retired and certified set section that we have to keep separate from the new in box current sets being sold by Lego. All those empty spaces up there were the sets that we had on display during the day from Brian's collection that every night when the store closed, we pulled off and put back into the safe and then put back out in the morning.
So when they say, see, there's empty space on the shelves, yeah, because we put them in safes at night to keep them safe.
Because we have giant windows.
Oh,
yeah, it's an explanation that kind of makes sense given the history of burglary. Now, of course, this is something I had to ask the McNeffs about.
Is this a case of, did y'all see Star Wars sets in the back? Did y'all not see the Star Wars sets in the back? Did he take, not in the back, but specifically in a safe? Like there were a bunch of Star Wars sets in a safe. Did Brandon see those? Has there been talk of those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. My understanding is that he took pictures of everything, and all those photos I showed you of the Star Wars were all the photos, or was literally all the Star Wars inventory in the store.
Yeah, the McNeffs say all of the photos should be with Brandon of all the Star Wars items. And to be fair to them, they showed me a lot more pictures and even showed me a spreadsheet of all the Star Wars sets in the store the night Brandon took it over. And it valued to about like $5,000 to $10,000 or so. But then I had to ask.
Oh, sorry, here's another kind of set.
Okay.
Do you think y'all have all of these?
Very likely.
Okay.
Again, I'd be surprised if we didn't.
But then I couldn't help
Wait,
myself.
I'm confused there. I forget. I didn't really understand what he was asking. Do y'all have all of these? What does he mean?
I started to bring up some of Crystal's photos to see if they matched up.
Have you seen this before?
Not that I recall.
So do you see that?
Yep.
So do you see it's in like some kind of like a safe thing? I don't know if you can see the sides there.
Looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I think the important thing is making sure that all of these are in the inventory for Mansell.
Sure. Sure, that's cool.
75041.
Yep. The Vulture Droid.
75169.
169 I'm not seeing, so there may be... Okay, so there's one that is not on our list.
Let's try this.
Oh, so they're going through the serial numbers and lining them up. Cause like they're both claiming, and here's the thing, y'all. I think they need to timestamp check the photos as well. But I think what we're kind of getting into here is maybe the Bricks and Minifigs guys, the CEOs, were being lied to by the people taking the photos, because all these photos, you have to keep in mind, are from Brandon and Josh. Maybe not even Josh, just Brandon.
10240?
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
What about 9493?
3. I don't see that one either. So maybe those were locked at the time, and Brandon did not get those pictures.
All right, that's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store. I definitely knew looking at these photos, there's a lot more Legos in the Gormans photos, by quite a lot that Brandon's photos just didn't show. But corporate didn't really see it that way.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking, again, 10 times the amount of sets here.
I don't know. I haven't shown all the photos yet. I don't know exactly how much.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little too in my...
Here's the thing, y'all. Even if that's true, even if those guys are also in some way, shape, or form getting bamboozled, you can never just say, I don't know, therefore I'm not liable. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen plenty of times small businesses getting rocked for something they didn't know about. And, like, that's not a good argument. You can't just say, I don't know. I know somebody signed a consignment legally between our company and that individual person. I don't know. And therefore, I don't have to pay up. Like, that is never a good argument.
My head about this U-Haul story. You don't think it could have been some U-Haul thing? There's no way.
Oh, yeah. Have we talked about the U-Haul yet? We gotta talk about the U-Haul for a second. This is another one of those things that was like really disputed between the two parties. Was this U-Haul that supposedly was driven up to the store the night of the takeover.
So when Brandon came to the store that night, he was driving a U-Haul truck.
Now, in typical fashion, this was immediately disputed.
Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
It wasn't until after he told me he was taking the keys and locking me out that I really kind of paid attention to the fact that he had a large, not the small, the large U-Haul truck.
So yeah, I just kept hearing about this U-Haul truck. Now, why is it significant, U-Haul or not? Well, one, a U-Haul truck can fit a lot of Legos, but the big reason it mattered to me was because I was actually called by an ex-employee of the Bricks and Minifigs store in Eugene, Oregon. Remember, that's the one that Brandon and Josh owned, and he told me something very interesting.
I'm a former employee, started in 2024, and I was working under the old manager, Brian, and he sold the store to Brandon, Best, and Josh.
What store was this? Bricks and Minifigs where?
Eugene.
Okay, now what did you see that made you want to talk to me?
I saw Reckless Ben's YouTube video about the Salem store closing down because when I was talking to my co-workers about the situation of Salem, and we were told through other employees that it was just a bad area to work in. It was like haunted, if you will, is what was going around.
Haunted?
After seeing the video of Reckless Ben, he exposed them, and it makes a lot more sense with what we dealt with Brandon and Josh. Like, Crystal stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us. When he was jumping off all the Lego sets to us that night. It was a bunch of used Lego sets that were like saran wrap. They had Star Wars CD. They just a lot of stuff. It was like a medium-sized U-Haul truck.
Wait. They brought a U-Haul truck.
Yeah, from Salem to Eugene.
And to Eugene, and it had a bunch of Star Wars sets on it?
Yeah, Star Wars sets, like everything. A bunch of used stuff too.
Wait, when
Wait, so he's basically, this employee is alleging that the night of the takeover, bro brought a U-Haul of a bunch of old sets of Legos to the Eugene store from Salem, and even said that he was gonna try to sell them there because the other location is haunted or whatever. Someone said haunted by Mormons. Oh, fuck. I didn't mean to do that, chat. Right here.
That made you want to talk to me?
Was that it was Brandon bolted out of the country. Crystal stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us. When he was dropping off all the Lego sets to us that night. There was a bunch of used Lego sets that were like saran wrap. They had Star Wars CD. They had just a lot of stuff. It was like in a medium-sized U-Haul truck.
Wait. They brought a U-Haul truck.
Yeah, from Salem to Eugene.
And to Eugene, and it had a bunch of Star Wars sets on it?
Yeah, Star Wars sets, like everything. A bunch of used stuff too.
Wait, and was this when they took over the store from Crystal?
I believe so, yes. Yes, because he said that Crystal stole Legos and left the country.
While he has a U-Haul of Legos?
Yeah.
Interesting. Weird.
Then he said, we're just going to hold on to this stuff until corporate tells us where we have to distribute it. And we're like, oh, well, it'd make more sense if we could take it because we're kind of struggling with, the product we put on the shelves.
Oh my gosh. We really got to find out. Was there a U-Haul that night or not? Because everybody's disagreeing about it. This Eugene, Oregon guy says, oh yeah, a U-Haul showed up with Star Wars sets in it. Brandon was talking about the Salem store. You've got Matt McNeff saying there was no U-Haul there. It was a rental car. You've got Crystal saying, yeah, I thought it was really weird. There was a U-Haul truck there. So I told the McNeffs, I really got to find out what the truth is here.
If you know anything about it, let me know, because that's just something I heard.
I do, and it has nothing to do with the Salem store. Well, at least not the Salem store in the way that it is there. Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
I can't tell if these motherfuckers are lying or they genuinely also are getting bamboozled. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very curious how involved they are. But why would they try to cover it up so bad? Can they check rental records? I'm sure if this goes to court, you could maybe subpoena records. But like in Reckless Ben's case, that's not going to necessarily help. Or two, I don't even know if those records would be approved because like it's not Brandon Best who's on trial. It's Reckless Ben. So I don't know. I feel like a lawyer would know so much better than we would.
Off, there wasn't a U-Haul, it was a rental car.
Correct. He was there in a rental car.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think any of the, like if you were to look at the footage, the ring cameras, all that stuff, you won't see a U-Haul sitting anywhere in the parking lot.
So after
I feel like Bo just shot himself in the foot. This guy definitely found some footage.
All of this, I realized, look, I just got to find the evidence. So I start sifting through these photos I have, right? I realize I have a parking lot photo. I check it. No U-Haul, just a red truck out there. I check another photo where you can see the window, but the problem is it's night outside, so you can't see. And so I'm looking at everything I can, and there's just nothing, And I have this alternate angle. I'm looking at that. And then, wait a minute. Zoom in on that photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit, and my gosh, there's a U-Haul in the parking lot right outside of the store the night of November 14th, 2024. This is something.
Another lie. They're getting just clapped left and right with getting caught in lies. Like, how the fuck are we supposed to believe them when it's like they lie and then there's just like evidence that disputes them immediately?
That said he had seen footage of, and it couldn't be true.
And again, I believe I have seen footage from that night that shows clearly out into the parking lot, and there's no U-Haul.
After seeing this, I said, I really have to make a call. And that's when the story changed.
So last night, I talked with Matt McNeff, I brought up this question of the U-Haul. He told me emphatically there was no U-Haul. Y'all came to me this morning. You said, hey, we looked into it. There actually was a U-Haul there that night. Can you clear up what that's about?
So there's actually two different things that are going on here, just to help you understand. And I don't know if you want this particularly not on the record, but we do know of a disgruntled former employee that worked at another location that back on the 24th of October, there was a U-Haul that went to a storage unit in Salem for another previous franchisee, for a different situation that we had just, gone through some things, and he had a previously, hey, I have some inventory that I didn't turn over that I was supposed to. It's at this storage location. You guys can come pick it up. And so Brandon was sent on that day to pick up with a U-Haul inventory that then he moved down, but that was October 24th.
So when we're talking about this...
Wait, they just got caught in another lie, kinda. Like he's saying, oh, it was October 24th, but now there's like another U-Haul. Also, bro, how many of your franchisees are just like fucking taking inventory and can't move? Like, is this like, I thought this Lego business was a fucking cash cow, but apparently not, bro.
Ex-employee, you're saying they are conflating the October 24th event of the U-Haul coming up to Eugene with Legos with some time after November 14th, after the store takeover. Is that correct? Am I understanding that?
Yes.
So this is now kind of a strange story. Corporate is saying there was a U-Haul at the Eugene store dropping off Lego, but that was from a different night, different collection. The CEO says Brandon showed up to Salem on October 24th for his secret shopper job with Crystal, and separately, he also was getting a different collection of Legos that also included Star Wars, and that's what he brought to the Eugene store, and the former employee is remembering. Then, weeks later, on November 14th, Brandon supposedly shows up again with a U-Haul, but the reason isn't for hauling Legos.
Brandon flew in to Eugene that night. At midnight. So flew from Utah on the 13th, but landed in Oregon on midnight of the 14th. Went and got a rental truck, and then went and stayed at a trailer that had previously been moved up there in anticipation, meaning a camper trailer, in anticipation of the potential hostile takeover previously.
Is that why he had a U-Haul? Is that the reason he had a U-Haul, was for this camper, or what's going on with the?
Yes. So then what happens is he takes his rental vehicle truck, and he tries to connect the trailer, the camping trailer, to that truck, and it's not rated for that particular weight, and he realized, oh crap. He called around and found that U-Haul had a rating for one of their box trucks, and so he grabbed that, went and got it at 10 a.m. on the 14th, and so he then went and hooked that trailer up to the camping trailer to a U-Haul, drove that trailer down to another location where he could set up the camping trailer in Salem, dropped off the camper trailer, and then he arrived in a U-Haul to the Salem store.
Chat, the bullshit is so fresh. Like, it's straight out of the bull's ass, bro. What is this? Like, what is bro yapping about? Like, this is some shit that a 6-year-old would come up with to lie to their mom. What am I listening to? What is this fucking stars aligned shit that I'm hearing right now? Yeah, bro had a camper, and the camper was connected to the truck, but the truck isn't rated to fucking carry the camper. So then he went and got which, by the way, how the fuck? Like, have y'all ever seen those box truck U-Hauls? Like, they're not, like, there's no way that the truck that we saw, that big ass red truck, I'm assuming was his rental car. There's no way that car was not rated to carry a camper. That's the whole point of a fucking truck. Over-explaining is a huge tell if someone's lying. No, for real. For real. Like, bro needs to quit yapping and just admit it at this point. By the way, hey there, Lush. Thank you for resubscribing for 3 months at tier 1. And subscribe for 4 months. I appreciate you.
And then went in, said hi to Crystal. And then as she was leaving, the door shuts. And so he locks it, calls the locksmith. Takes him a while to finish up the changing of the locks. Brandon at this point is pretty exhausted. So, and he has an hour drive back to Eugene to drop off the rental truck. So he drops it off at, midnight or 1 o'clock, something like that, grabs the rental truck, and then heads back up to the camper trailer in Salem. And then, probably gets in at around 2 or 3 in the morning, spends a couple of, that's a little bit of sleep before he has to head back to the store at 9 a.m. before the other employees get there. The timeline that is trying to be portrayed just makes absolutely no sense.
There's no way, there's no fucking way you just fucking pulled that shit out of your ass and then went, the other timeline doesn't make sense. What are you fucking talking about? Bro, I think the only way is if we get the actual physical records of this U-Haul. Which one lines up? Which one lines up, bro?
Okay, so I asked, obviously, for documentation of all of this from Brandon. And here's what I got. First, the U-Haul contract on November 14th. This checks out what we already know. Then I got sent a photo, the last one Brandon took in the Salem store, dated 9:44 p.m., where you can see what looks like the inside of a bird cage that the Gormans had. And lastly, I was sent a photo Brandon took of the mileage in the U-Haul as he dropped it back off at the rental place on November 15th, 12:41 a.m. Now, the time gap there is about 3 hours.
Can you drop rental cars off that early in the morning?
Hours between the last photo in Salem to dropping the U-Haul off, which is a bit of a problem for our timeline.
Yeah, it took like 4 hours. I worked till like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get up early for, my other job.
You moved 4 hours of Legos out of this truck.
Yeah.
All right, so as weird as this U-Haul thing is, the timeline just doesn't fit, to be honest. If it took 4 hours to unload, you can't also drive to another city, load and unload and drop off the U-Haul in that time. But still, even if this is true, it's pretty weird. And it's one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard, to have a U-Haul thing back to back. One of the times you're picking up Legos, the other time you're not, you're taking a camper. Nevertheless, without more proof, we kind of have to move on to another theory of how to find these missing Lego. This time, let's take the photographs that we have and reconstruct what was in the night on November 14th. Remember, that's the moment we lost the Lego. And this time, we're going to combine it with 2 more things. First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 to 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory of what was sold or not in order to pay him and keep track of prices. Now,
I've been wondering about that. I've been wondering about, like, obviously they had to have meticulous records on this collection, right? To keep track of, like, what was owed. And that has never come up until this point. So I'm actually the most curious about that. Because, like, at a certain point, too, it could just be like, hey, we can pay you out, like, this much for, like, what we know was sold based off of Crystal's records. And then maybe, I still don't think they have a good argument, but maybe if they're actually trying to do their due diligence to not, like, fuck over somebody who, like, it's really the company's fault for, like, allowing this consignment when they don't allow consignment, even though, like, we've seen evidence that consignment is allowed. I don't even fucking know at this point. But, like, regardless, like, they should just look at those records and be like, This is it. Tatsu, the sound is always synced off. I genuinely, here, let me try to, like, every once in a while, if I, like, switch the like, audio, where the audio is coming from, it'll, like, sync back up. But usually, I don't know what's wrong. I genuinely don't know. It's supposed to just be my desktop audio. It's in sync for me, so I apologize, you guys.
Together, I need to address something. At the beginning of this story, you saw the social post saying this collection was worth $200,000. That's what everyone knows this story as, the $200,000 Lego collection. But sadly, that post was entirely wrong. In Crystal Gorman's inventory, which has a high and low estimate value of these various Lego items, the real estimated value is about $107,000. They give high estimates and low estimates, but that's right there in the middle. And for simplicity, I'll just be using averages and estimates here, but understand that, these numbers are not firm, given that they're unsold Legos. It's just rough possibilities. But the point is, it's worth nowhere near $200,000. And Reckless Ben, the one who made the original video covering this, said that surprised him.
Yeah, this entire time, literally every single person's been telling me there were $200,000. Like, that's how much, you could sell all these sets for.
My original assessment of about $200,000 was going up to his father's house and looking in 3 different rooms with all the sets. It was before I'd actually gone through and had set numbers and done an actual evaluation. I looked at it and went based on as things progressed and as I started to delve more into the actual inventory and evaluating it, that number changed. But we put out the press release well in advance of the event itself, so that press release went out before I had those full numbers. So we went, this is a nice even number that will grab attention and bring people into the store, so we went with that.
And still, to believe that is accurate at the high end. Like, it was one of those things where when she was looking through and going, well, it says this and it says this, you don't think even at the high end?
You haven't actually seen the spreadsheet.
No, I haven't.
You might want to cut that part out because he hasn't actually seen the inventory sheet.
The spreadsheet says about from between 85,000.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I love those two. Don't come off to me as good business owners. Sorry, call me a bad person. I'm not trying to say that they did it. I'm just kind of sitting here and I'm even just after hearing that, I was like, ugh. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for fluffing shit up to make it more marketable, but there's a difference between fluffing shit up and just straight up lying.
1,000 to 120 something thousand, in the midpoint about 107 or something like that of what was inventory. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has been a really big point of misinformation to clear up, because if we're ever going to find the missing Lego, we need to start with the right number, the right value. It's about $107,000. Now, between 2023 and 2024, the Gormans record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list. And of those sales, Brian was entitled to about 65 to 70% of it. He was paid $17,000, which roughly tracks with that.
All values shown are estimates and or round numbers using best available data. Okay.
Which means on November 14th, the big night, the remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize this is a...
Also, wait, I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. Just for clarification, I think Coffeezilla said that Brian was paid out that $17,000. I just want to double check that before... Because, that's kind of important, too. I feel like that's something that wasn't shared with us was hey, this is how much they've been paid out so far. The way it made it sound to us is that Brian never got a payout. To be honest, we've never even heard about their payout structure, was it supposed to be one big lump sum? Was it supposed to be every 3 months? Was it supposed to be monthly? I think all that stuff is very important. So I want to go back real quick. I'm also going to reset the audio for you guys. Let me go back 2 more slides. Sorry, guys. I really want to be as on top of this as possible, and I think I just missed that. I just missed that, bro. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second, guys. Bam. Okay.
$7,000. Now, between 2023 and 2024, the Gormans record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list.
Okay.
And of those sales, Brian was entitled to about 65 to 70% of it.
Okay.
He paid $17,000, which roughly tracks with that.
Okay.
Which means
so he
on
was
November
paid.
14th, the big night, the remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize this is a very different number than corporate provided, who found only $2,000 to $5,000 of it linked to Brian. And later they said they only found $13,000 to $15,000 in total Lego Star Wars.
So you're talking maybe $11,000 to $15,000 total Star Wars, and that's all Star Wars inventory in the whole store.
So that's corporate side of the story, but I didn't want to take their word for it. So I went through Crystal's photos myself, which she shared with me, and hired people to go through and hand tag the Star Wars Legos that were in these photos. We looked through over 200 plus photos, multiple videos, and matched what we saw with Brian's collection. In the end, I ended up with about $21,000 of Legos matching Brian's collection that can be proven to be in the store on the night of November 14th. Now, to state the obvious, that's about 3 to 5 times what corporate estimated, at least on their press release. Now, yes, there are inherent errors in these estimates. Maybe we picked up some Lego that matched Brian's collection, but wasn't Brian's. But even though this is a bigger number than corporate said, I have to admit, even with pretty generous assumptions being made, there's still a huge gap of about $61,000 here that I just couldn't find. But then I learned Brian had made a special side deal with M&R Productions, who had recently purchased some Legos from him. And this is where it starts to get messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions sent me, looking at the Lego that Brian sold him. This was stuff reportedly in storage, and it's interesting because of an early inventory list, which had a column called Location that Crystal used. And it listed a lot of the Star Wars items as being located in what they called storage. Now, previously I was told that all of the stuff in storage was put back in the store, but there's a bunch that's on this list that I can't find in the store that seem to appear in these pictures. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that most of these Legos were not part of the inventory spreadsheet. They were never given to Bricks and Minifigs. This is a separate part of the collection, but I did a check, and 100% of the items that match the Brian collection inventory just so happen to be listed with a location of storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list.
Wait, so Brian did have some of the Legos and was selling some of it? Is that what he's saying? Yeah, because the only Brian in this story is the guy who's claiming that he had these Legos stolen from him. And so he made a deal selling Legos to a YouTuber?
Now, if we take that value of the side deal, that's about $10,000 to $20,000 that's not actually missing. Now, it was at this point I started looking more at the point of sales records. I realized maybe we could find some of this missing Lego there too. So this is from the Salem internal store records. Like, I guess this is what is entered when someone does a sale, and it's everything from September 2023 to November 2024 of Star Wars anything. And by the way, before we continue, yes, this was all a lot of work. If you want to, please support us on Patreon. That's how this show gets made. But anyways, according to those records, about $51,000 in sales went through during this time period in a way that matched Brian Mansell's collection. Now, that really worried me because Crystal's inventory list showed only $24,000 in sales for Brian, and Brian was only paid for that amount. But suddenly, I remembered back to a time when I spoke to Crystal, and I asked how much was sold prior to the takeover.
Which is something similar from what you told me, Crystal.
Yeah.
You told me, hey, it was about 50-something thousand.
Yeah.
But Brian was only paid $17,000.
Okay.
And it should have been about double that. And I'm just trying to make sense of that, given that everyone's accusing each other of theft right now. You understand?
I mean, without seeing any of those records, without seeing those individual tickets, I can't answer that any better.
Okay, this is kind
Okay, that is a crazy bad answer to that. Hey, so we checked both lists, lined them up, saw the amounts didn't add up. Hey, Chief, what do you have to say to that? That's a bad answer. When you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, that is terrible business practice. Oh shit. Chicken sandwich with a little 5 gifted. Chicken, crazy time for the chicken. Also, you changed your name. Shawarma Chicken Sando. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Guys, if you got a gifted sub from Chicken Sandwich, make sure to say thank you. All right, chat. Normally I'll call you out, but I'm invested, y'all. We're getting to a point where it's like, damn, were more people culpable or, you know, was Reckless Ben lied to by multiple people? Oh my God, that's not Chicken Sandwich. That's wait. So there's another Chicken Sandwich in my chat? Chicken Sandwich Palestinian version. Chat, we have an imposter. That's crazy, bro. In the same week, we get an imposter dragon and an imposter chicken sandwich. I need an imposter Starby. ASAP Rocky. What would that be? Barbie? Larby? Marby? Zarby. Zarby with a Z. Chat, I need it.
Kind of a problem. The math ain't...
I need someone to go to make a buy Zarby account.
math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe.
Tickets.
Hold on, guys. Let me reset the audio again for you guys. Just trying to make sure you guys have a good experience.
I can't answer that any better.
Okay, this is kind of a problem. The math ain't math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe Brian was paid. And digging into the details, it turns out a lot of these sales come from what Crystal's spreadsheet actually categorizes as layaways, meaning they were marked as having been sold, but layaways are when someone puts a down payment on an item and later pays it off. But the problem was there were a lot of these, worth about $20,000 in layaway, and that felt a little strange to me. And because of that, I asked Josh Johnson, the incoming owner, and he responded, quote, "There were 2 to 3 items on layaway when they took over."
So on the list of on the inventory list, do you know about how many layaways
I haven't gone through and done a count, but I know it was vastly more than 2 to 3.
It was about 98.
That makes sense.
So there were about $15,000 to $25,000 worth of sets on layaway.
Okay.
That's just the part that's surprising. That's the part that I can't get my head around. I go, how could, let me just be really honest.
Okay, so that if true, now the Gormans are back up, chat, right? Like that tells me, okay, maybe you didn't know because you had so many layaways and you didn't include that. It doesn't seem to completely add up, but that gets us a lot closer. I don't know, chat. I think layaway is such bad business practice. Me personally. Especially on something you're doing a consignment for. Like, what if that person... How does that even work with Legos? If someone sets up a layaway and then they don't pay it, what do? Go repo their Legos? I don't know, bro. I don't know the Lego game well enough for that shit, bro.
I don't believe there was that much layaway. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. How could there be that much layaway? I don't know. It's like I don't believe, because I was talking to some people about bricks and minifigs. They go, yeah, there's some layaway. There's not that much layaway.
The Gormans are not as guilty as the dipshit bros, but they definitely did some stupid business practices. No, guys, I keep like swinging back around to this. Like, the more I'm watching at least this video, and even from some of the prior videos, I was a little skeptical of at least the Gormans' ability to own a business. Like, as a business owner, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Like, I think there's this idea that business owners have to be super risky and like make bets. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, like sometimes, but like making a bet that screws over other people rather than just yourself is fucking crazy to me.
Talk to people who are neutral, kind of on corporate side, but also people who are just normal bricks and minifigs people. They say there's not that much layaway. Help me understand why there's $20,000 worth of layaway here.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely, if you talk to other bricks and minifigs locations, layaway is extremely rare. I think outside of the Brian's collection,
I'm not crazy here. So then why was there so much layaway there?
No, absolutely not. Outside of Brian's collection, I think at the time we maybe had 2 used sets on layaway outside of his collection. Okay. It was not a common thing traditionally. I don't know that we'd ever done layaway before the collection came in. with Brian's collection, it was a little bit different because so much of this collection were new in box, all in one place, reasonably priced, and a lot of the harder to find items. And so customers would come in and put, I'm gonna guess probably half of those layaway items were not gonna be sold to the person who took them on layaway. Because we had several that would put them on layaway and then change their mind. So this was something like, somebody would come in and want 10 different sets, but only be able to buy one. Can I put the rest of those on layaway so you don't sell them? I'll pay $10 to put these sets on layaway. Traditionally with layaway,
That seems fucking dumb to me. Why are you guys saying that makes sense? That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry, if you don't have the money to fucking buy it, it's not yours. Call me crazy for that. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. You don't got the $500 to fucking take this shit off my hands right now. It's not yours. I'm gonna just, to me, that's fucking over Brian. She literally just said, some people go out, they're like, oh, I'm gonna put this on layaway, and then come back and they're like, actually, I don't want it anymore. So you're telling me for $10, these people could take that shit off the shelves? For $10 fucking dollars? And then do they keep that $10, chat? Dude, is that how I haven't done layaway in a fat minute, but isn't that pretty typical? You put down the $10 or whatever the small fee is, and if you decide not to go through with it, you lose that $10. Is Brian getting a cut of that $10? Sorry, guys, I forgot what layaway was for a second there. I was thinking of Klarna-esque for layaway, but I forgot that it stays in the store. No, they refund them if they don't pay the rest? That's fucking dumb. That is so dumb. I've never, honestly, y'all, the more I'm watching this, I'm like, I should be more mad at Bricks and Minifigs, and maybe this video is just redirecting. But low-key, they're kind of bad at business. It does not surprise me that they got kicked out of the... y'all, I've been saying it. I don't actually think it was a bad move to kick them out from being franchisees, especially after this video. I wouldn't want them franchising shit from me. Now, the way that they did it probably was a little bit sketchy and scummy, and there's some hanky-panky happening, but holy shit. That's insane to me. What is the... Wait, hold on. I'm sorry, and I'm yapping. I gotta get back to it. What is the point of layaway? To me, it just sounds like you are hey, I'm going to make it... I'm going to take these off the shelves. You don't have access to it. I can't sell it or market that I'm selling it. So anybody who walks in and might potentially buy it outright is going to miss it. What's the point of layaway? I don't get it. That just seems who invented that shit? That sounds dumb to me. If something was running out of stock, I guess. But still, I'm sorry, guys. I'm thinking of the business owner idea. If you're a business owner, running out of stock is the best case scenario. Other than the only thing you're thinking of when you run out of stock is, damn, I wish I had more. Right? Running out of stock is a good thing. That means you're selling shit. That means you're making money. I just don't get it. I'm so confused.
Layaway, we would ask for 10% down. They'd have 30 days to make their next payment, or we'd refund the layaway amount and then put it back on the shelf. Because this collection was the collection it was, and I wanted to give these people the opportunity to, to get these sets we were a lot more generous with how long and the amount of payments that people could make towards the layaway. So a lot of these, we had several of them. I think one of the Ewok villages, we put on layaway 4 different times, and then it came off of layaway and back on layaway and then off and then sold. So a lot of these would have gone on and off of layaway and then back out on the shelf, just depending on the person who was putting it on layaway. That was completely unique to this collection.
So, look.
That's so dumb to me. Listen, good people. They're like, listen, I want to give everybody a good chance of getting these Legos. But bro, if these were my Legos and I found out that that's what they were doing with them, I'd be like, give me them bitches back. What the fuck are you guys doing? What? Like, as we're continuing through this video, the only conclusion I'm really pulling from this is like, yeah, no shit, you guys like weren't able to pay your bills. Like, they were literally shooting themselves in the foot. Layaway is low-key like pre-ordering something, not even Arlo, because they like when you pre-order something, usually if it's done correctly, usually either A, you have to pay the full amount, or B, the amount that you pay ahead of time gets taken from you. From my understanding, if you pre-order something, like this whole thing is so dumb to me. Like, the only reason in my head that you would ever do layaway is if you kept the money that they laid away. Otherwise, what is the positive for you? Oh my God.
Look, I'll be honest, I don't trust Josh Johnson, but something is weird here.
So a lot of these are, see, like, look at this. Like, so like it says POS final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
I mean, without seeing the actual sales ticket and seeing what else, like what items were sold together, what else was sold with it, I can't actually see the sales ticket. We had several layaway items in which customers were putting multiple things on layaway, paying for most of one item, and then, or they were buying, 8 different things together and then putting all of them on layaway and making payments on multiple items at the same time. Our Ewok village was one of those cases. At some point he had, I think, like 8 or 9 different items on layaway. So they'd come in and make a payment for a bulk payment. I've got 800 things on layaway. I'm gonna make $100 on my payment. One customer in particular would do that, and then when he'd gotten up high enough to pay for one set, we'd pull that set out, mark it as sold. So without seeing the actual tickets and my layaway records, I cannot answer a question any clearer than that.
But I even found more than that.
Okay, I have to let it keep going because I'm confused.
$10,000 in sales that
Not
matched
confused,
Brian's
but, like,
collection
irritated.
that were not marked as sold under this inventory spreadsheet.
Some of our things that were not found
Okay.
were explained by the POS system because they were found in the POS system as being sold. So like they weren't marked on the spreadsheet, but they were marked as sold via the POS system. And this is about $10,000 worth of Lego that basically were matched.
Huh. See, and I don't know. Take anything happening from, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to do math here. I don't know without being able to see all of the records. There is a possibility that the consignments were ended when I wasn't at work and I just didn't go through and pull them up. They didn't get put in the consignment ticket. I hadn't gone through those consignments in a couple of months. I hadn't gone through the inventory in the back room in a couple of months. So it is entirely possible there were sales that were finished that I never clocked as being finished. I don't know that without going through and actually seeing it.
But you're saying it's
$10,000 though? Like, if this is like, I'll give her $1,000, maybe $2,000. $10,000. Like, this is breaking my brain, bro. Yeah, 10K is not small. You guys are saying it in chat. Like, what? Oh my God, this is just a mess. This is just a gigantic mess. This is making me realize, while like I still think Bricks and Minifigs and probably the owners of the Brandon Best and Josh, like, they're still sketchy as fuck. I don't disagree with that. I still think they stole the remaining inventory, but it would be so much easier. It would be so much easier to like put the full blame on them if there wasn't this fucking mess right here.
It's possible stuff was sold, not updated on this inventory list.
It's entirely possible that stuff did not get updated on my spreadsheet. I'm not going to sit here and claim it's not possible. It's possible I missed things.
So where does this leave us? I know some people are jumping to conclusions here, but I must remind you that on the night of November 14th, 2024, Crystal Gorman was concerned about Brian getting paid or not getting paid.
He has not been paid his percentage yet. And if I don't have the tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
Okay. So Crystal, ultimately, that's a business thing and not necessarily yours. Brandon will take, because taking on the business, he takes on all that kind of side there.
So obviously, one could
that is actually kind of important to keep in mind, is like, she was at least somewhat concerned. Maybe was she organized enough to where she was actively keeping up with those payments pretty well? And maybe was she like doing too much layaway with his stuff to the point where, like, I feel like me as the if I owned the Legos, I would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, there's some sketchy shit, but I think it is important to point out, like, she does look concerned about paying him back.
That and say she was intending to reconcile with Brian. Maybe she hadn't gotten around to it. And of course, corporate will probably take a more cynical view of what she's doing by printing these receipts. But the point is, regardless of whose side you're on, I think we can all agree there's a lot of weird stuff here on all sides. Abnormal stuff. Sure, maybe you can chalk some of this up to bad record keeping between the U-Haul, the layaways, the $20,000 in Lego sets that corporate called $2,000 to $5,000 that was there that night, the off-book deals. But even if we can't like fully know 100%, what these weird things were about, I think they tell a story of what actually happened to Brian's collection. In a way, multiple people, I think, are kind of right, kind of wrong. The Gormans were correct that more of that collection was there that night of the takeover than previously thought. But corporate also alleged that some of it was offsite, and that appears to be partly true, although some of that is disputed, and it looks like, way more of the collection was sold and layawayed than Brian was paid for. But all in all, there's a lot less missing than many people think, especially if your starting number is $200,000. I estimated, and I must emphasize, estimated with bad records, that there's only about $10,000 to $20,000 in Lego that isn't explained by one of these sources. This isn't to say Brian's been fully compensated. Much of this, Brian,
but the
wasn't
layaway
paid
stuff
for
is still
that I know
really
of.
confusing.
So I estimate he's still out about $50,000 to $83,000 for Lego he wasn't compensated for. And I think honestly that's something that Bricks and Minifigs obviously should handle and make right. Regardless of what
Agreed.
A franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company behind it must stand behind their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite. Unfortunately, Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events. But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea. As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million as part of a legal campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates. Remember, Brian is the same guy who lost all these Legos at Bricks and Minifigs store. And I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this. Look, mistakes have been made by plenty of people here, but there's a lot more people who have inflicted self-owns, the likes of which we've rarely seen, by just choosing the worst possible.
We haven't even touched on in this entire video this fucking sketchy ass police department. Like, and that's something I feel like this video is missing. Like, don't get me wrong. I think this video has really made me be like, all right, the Gormans were definitely like doing something sketchy. Like, whether it was bad business practices or they were actively trying to like steal shit, they were not managing these Legos well. I will admit that from start. But like, we can't forget how corrupt these officers were and their connection to not only the owners of the franchise, the Bricks and Minifigs franchise, but to the actual like CEO as well. You guys got to remember, the actual CEO himself is also a part of the same church.
Path at every fork in the road, no pun intended. But the best path to making things right, in my view, is by just making Brian whole and moving on. Drop the aggressive legal strategy. You are a Lego store at the end of the day. You are supposed to be about fun, not about a rerun of Suits. But anyways, that's my investigation. Those are my closing thoughts. And I knew I wanted to approach everyone involved in this whole story with my results and see what they thought.
Still 6.5 minutes.
Does all that make sense to you? Because I'm showing everyone in this story and saying, hey,
the thing
are
that
any of these
doesn't make
numbers
sense-
blowing your mind, or is any of this crazy to you?
No, it's not crazy. But what's crazy, again, like all the photo evidence that both sides have points to there being, sure, $20,000 worth of Lego in this of Star Wars Lego in the store that night, right? I don't know, man. I'm just like, can people understand maybe why there was some confusion and why there was some hesitation when somebody comes in and says, hey, you owe me $60,000 worth of product and Lego, and we go, we don't even know who you are. Like, yeah, Crystal mentioned something about consignment on her way out the door. And we go,
hold on. Like, do you know how fucking dumb that is? Do you know how fucking stupid that is? Hey, this person comes up to you and you're like, we don't even know who you are. That's your fault. As the company, that is your fault. That's your reaction? That's your reaction to someone saying, hey, I worked with one of your franchisees. They owe me money. And you go, I don't know who you are. Therefore, we are not liable. Do you know how fucking dumb that is? Like, that's the crazy part. Like, you're so, like, that's such a stupid answer. I'm trying to think of like a good analogy, but like it's really dumb. It's really fucking dumb, bro. It's not a good answer.
go, sure, we'll get that figured out. But then the guy just walks in and demands on her way, and we go, we don't even know who you are. Like, yeah, Crystal mentioned something about consignment on her way out the door. And we go, sure, we'll get that figured out. But then the guy just walks in and demands $60,000 worth of Lego. Like, what am I supposed to do other than say, cool, show me, can you show me the proof?
The problem is there's so much of a dispute on the timeline, and this is what's gonna make this story so hard to tell, is like, they say, you guys are unreasonable. They tried, and eventually they gave up. But they say they tried and they were basically met with like unreasonable requests, things like that. So
verification, documentation, is that unreasonable, do you think?
Well, I think they would say they provided the documentation, and you guys say you need more documentation. So I mean, that's kind of the
right. A spread, like, I understand a spreadsheet and a contract are a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never got that. That was never sent to us at corporate, by the way.
Y'all do have the spreadsheet though, yeah? Y'all have the spreadsheet. That
was shared online, but months after we asked for it.
It says I'm so confused. It says I'm on the.
Like, guys, the more I hear about this business, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and granted, it's a fucking Lego shop, so maybe I'm expecting too much out of fucking a big corporation that franchisees like buying and selling Legos, but like, there's no way that any other company that is that has franchises doesn't have like an internal system where they're tracking their stores and like keeping them accountable. Like, y'all, I almost want to call Kathy. Because she was, I don't know if I should talk about this too much, but she used to own a Kumon Center. She was a franchisee of Kumon. Like, I'm so curious, were her records not intertwined with Kumon? And even if that is the case, where like they don't have like all the records completely connected, like it's still their job. Like, it's their job to get those records and verify those things. Ben tried to show them the contract and spreadsheet. You have to keep in mind, just Peachy Pie, his investigation is a couple of years after all of this. Like, if you guys haven't been following along, like a lot of this shit is happening in 2023, 2024. So I'm like that's when like the Legos were being sold, and then that's when it changed hands. So I'm guessing a majority of this stuff happened like 2024, 2025. And then I would venture to guess Reckless Ben's video was recorded around like 2025, 2026. I could be wrong about that timeline, but I think you guys have to keep that in mind, that like, you know, this is spanning over not just months, but years. What the fuck is Kumon? Not you guys not knowing Kumon, bruh. It's so interesting, bro. Okay, hold on. Let me reset my audio again, then we'll continue. I'm just rewinding a little bit.
Y'all do have the spreadsheet though, yeah? Y'all have the spreadsheet.
That was shared online, but months after we asked for it.
It says it's. I'm so confused. It says I'm on the file right now. It says storage used, owned by BAM Franchising Inc. Owner Salem.or bricksandminifigs.com.
What are you looking at?
It says owner Salem.or at bricksandminifigs.com. That's you guys. It says owned by BAM Franchising Inc. It says created September 6, 2024. And when I look at it, this is the Mansell list, I believe.
So this would have been created under like so we have the we
y'all definitely have this. Y'all have access to this.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I had no idea. Like, so if
that's not a good, like, oh my God, that's so crazy. That's so crazy. That is such a bad answer. If you get pulled over for going 100 miles an hour and a 45 limit and you go, I didn't know, you're still getting arrested. That's so, I mean, guys, too, like what I was looking at here was, okay, this is salem.or at bricksandminifigs.com. That means that this was on the Bricks and Minifigs official Google Drive. And I know this because I have my own. I pay for my own Google Drive to keep track of my VODs and send them to my editors. And like, if it's under bricksandminifigs.com, whoever owns bricksandminifigs.com has access to this. And I highly doubt it was the franchise owner of Salem, Oregon, who had bricksandminifigs.com ownership. The people that own that would be the higher up. So they've had access to these spreadsheets for months, years, and they're just using the excuse, oh, we didn't have them, no one sent them to us, when they fucking own them. That's how this shit works, bro. That is so insane to me. This, like, now I'm like, I'm getting fucking rage baited by this guy. Like, this guy is genuinely a fucking moron. Like someone needs to punch him in his stupid villain mustache ass looking face for being this much of an idiot.
A spreadsheet was created using like Bricks and Minifigs Salem, like, and all of this stuff was archived.
It wasn't.
This is the first I've seen that this spreadsheet was created by Crystal. And we don't know how accurate it is, how up to date it was. We don't know a lot of those types of things. And understand, I appreciate you sharing this with us because we had no idea. Again, you don't know what you don't know. And you can't, like, we don't know everything. And we don't go, like, looking in every nook and cranny everywhere. Like, we just don't know some of those things. So if that's there, we can now have our team go look for that.
Someone comes up to you and's like, hey, you guys owe me $50,000 worth of Legos. And you go, we didn't know. We didn't do any research. How were we supposed to know? It's just so. It's like giving a toddler, giving their mom excuses for like getting caught on video games before their homework's done. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to get my homework done, even though you told me a bajillion times that I needed to get my homework done before I could play video games. I didn't know that. How was I supposed to know? Like, it's so crazy. It's so, I'm sorry. I need to let this play out for the rest of the video, guys. I apologize.
You just don't know some of those things. So if that's there, we can now have our team go look for that.
When it
Bro, that's like your whole job for real.
They're going to have to make a judgment call and say, who's telling the truth? The people who were taking all the pictures and say, and we couldn't take pictures of everything the night of, but we're being honest consistently, and the people who are saying, there was $5,000 there. Really? Like, that makes no sense. We've got the evidence, and yes, there's a discrepancy. We acknowledge we did not take pictures of everything, but does that mean that the discrepancy is, oh, and therefore these missing, percentage, whatever that would be, 5%, is some magical other place? Or it was sitting there in the store and we didn't get pictures of it.
If I messed up,
explanation.
If I messed up on my record keeping, I will take accountability for that. It's possible. If my staff didn't draw attention that consignments had left out, so I'd move them to the thing. Any of that, I will take accountability to that.
Big ups on her. And I think this just like further solidifies, like, they're saying, hey, we probably fucked up here and there, and I'll take accountability for that. But at the end of the day, like, there still is some hangy-peggy, sketchy shit happening from the company. Whereas the company is like, how are we supposed to know? This isn't our fault, even though our whole entire fucking job is to make sure that our franchisees aren't doing sketchy shit and we're holding ourselves accountable for it. How are we supposed to know? Like, yeah. Just listen, I appreciate that they're like, we probably fucked up. We did some bad shit. Or maybe not even bad, but like, we just had bad business practices. Like, hell yeah. Thank you for taking the accountability.
I am more than willing to do that. I need BAM to show me those tickets.
As they promised to do.
I will sit down with Brian and talk this over and figure out what we missed and where it was missed and how it was missed and make that right with him.
I mean, that's new information no one's ever found out, so that's like awesome. They're gonna lose hundreds of millions of dollars because of their own wrongdoing. They're literally gonna destroy their entire company because they're this stubborn over maybe $20,000 worth of Lego.
Sure, I'll be keeping you in the loop with what
Nice. I'm excited. This was good work. My other final thoughts is, dude, you solved it, dude. That's awesome.
As of making this video, Brandon Best and Josh Johnson are no longer working at Bricks and Minifigs. That's probably good comms. Bricks and Minifigs is suing Brian Manziel and Reckless Ben for over $1 million in damages. I mean, I think it's more than that. I think that, like, and here's the thing, is they kind of, like Reckless Ben was saying, like, they could have just paid this out and we would all be like, all right, cool. But instead, they're, like, dying on this hill that's going to result in their company fucking dying. Like, unless they completely rebrand. And even then, I don't even think that would work, because I think the Lego community is so niche and so, like, ingrained with one another. Like, if they rebranded to another company name, someone would make a video that's like, Bricks and Minifigs is trying to scam you, don't buy here. A restraining order is in effect against Reckless Ben to prevent him from speaking about Bricks and Minifigs. I didn't even know there could be restraining orders against speaking about a company. That's fucking insane. The Gormans are suing Bricks and Minifigs. The lawsuit claims Brian's collection had an original aggregate value of around $250,000. Interesting. That's not really good looks for the Gormans based off this video, where we found that it was like maybe not even, it's less than half of that. Oh, is this just everybody on Patreon? Okay, yeah. Okay, we're not gonna watch that. Chat, wow. Just fucking wow. Wait, what happened to my fucking sources? What the? Oh, that's so weird. What the fuck? Hold on. Can I not? I don't know how I did that, chat. Okay, apparently my scene and my sources are... All right, I'll fuck with that later. Oh, God. Y'all, this is just a mess. This is just a mess. Like, don't get me wrong. I still think we should be coming hard at bricks and minifigs. But, like, the Gormans didn't make this easy. I feel like Brian may or may not have been doing some weird shit too, or there was just poor documentation. I don't really know. Like we didn't glaze over it, but we kind of didn't really deep dive into like, hey, here was a list of the Legos on the on the list, on the inventory list that the Gormans were supposed to sell when they were franchisees. But like Brian just sold them to a YouTuber. I don't know, man. Yeah, you guys are saying it. Like, it sounds like there was bad bookkeeping, which like, that's just, and it's not even bookkeeping. It's like your records were just poorly organized. Like the fact that there's $10,000 worth of like missing whatevers, or like even the fact that the layaways were allowed is just like, it was kind of a perfect storm for this bomb to go off. Because if they would have been more meticulous about their records and there was no doubt, literally like no reasonable doubt that these Legos were stolen, then they have more of an argument. But oh my God, bro, it's just chaotic. This is crazy, man. I definitely think the Gormans were doing something shady. I honestly, I didn't get the vibe that the Gormans were doing something shady. I got the vibe that they just should never own a business. They were terribly disorganized, which, to be fair, to give them a lot more credit, like their business is very different than mine. Like I like to think I'm a pretty disorganized business owner, and I'm pretty damn organized. You know, like I'm pretty on top of it. Like I think the people who work with me would say that like I'm hard on myself in that aspect where like if you're working, like my disorganization is like my video files could be better organized, or like sometimes my editors have to wait a little while before I assign them new clips to edit or something like that. But like when it comes to like paying the people who I work with, or like organizing and making sure that we have like everything in order so that they can do their job, like I'm very on top of that. And like from my understanding, the Gormans weren't good at that. Like if somebody ever worked with me and we were handling $100,000 worth of inventory and I was responsible for paying them their fair share of that inventory, my records would be spotless. I would pay someone to check that shit every week to make sure everything was hunky-dory. Interesting. Interesting, bro. They're not incompetent, or to me, they're incompetent, not malicious. Corporate is both. I agree with that. I think there's incompetency all around the board. You know, honestly, guys, and don't get me wrong, I think it's good for Reckless Ben to bring light to this. But what I will say is, like, none of this was included in his videos. Where, like, don't get me wrong, Bricks and Minifigs, they're doing bad shit. The police departments are doing some bad shit. But watching that video, A, there should have been more investigation on the Gormans. B, there should have been a little bit of investigation on Brian. Like, I'm still very curious about that, like, you know, secret, not even secret, but that sale. Like, I want to know, did Brian, like, because he owns the stuff. Like, in theory, that's fine for him to do, but then that needs to be properly documented. And also that needs to be communicated to us of like, hey, by the way, you know, we're saying $200,000, but it sounds like I sold like a good amount from that $200,000 that should lessen that. Which, to be fair, could be from Reckless Ben's editing. So I don't know. You guys. I think it sucks that they're taking Reckless Ben to court, because I think it was, and there was definitely some corruption going on here and there, but I don't know, man. I think Ben was too trusting. I wouldn't disagree with that. But it's also kind of on him to like do the research on the people he's trusting, you know? Be like, hey, send me the evidence. Because it seems like Reckless Ben had access to all this evidence. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, you know what? Maybe not the spreadsheet. Yeah, trust but verify. It sounds like Reckless Ben didn't do the verification part. Who knew Legos could get this fucking messy? No, for real. For real, man. This shit is messy, messy, man. He just believed the little guy, which, to be fair, I'm going to be real. I still think the little guy's in the right, but I think we were grossly misled. You know? This entire event made me too scared to ever do consignment. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't understand why they did consignment. Like, I genuinely, and maybe I'm not, you know, I'm not taking into account exactly how hard that process would be to get rid of $100,000 worth of Legos. But to me, it's like, bro, if you would have just locked in and like sold everything on eBay, not only would you have gotten a lot more money, but like, in my opinion, you like, if you want it done well and not in a sketchy way, do it yourself, you know? If Reckless Ben is getting sued for racketeering, does that mean there's a Lego mafia? I mean, there was a Lego club, a Lego cult that he made, so maybe. Maybe, chat. Maybe there is. You know? If Ben's going to be doing YouTube cases like this, he needs to verify better. That's true. I mean, to Coffeezilla's credit, though, like, Coffeezilla does it in a probably more journalistic way, whereas Reckless Ben was like, let me troll you, which is great content. I can't lie. And like Bricks and Minifigs deserves to be trolled. But you're right. Like Reckless Ben is kind of sitting in the bed that he made. Not necessarily, I don't think he should be getting sued for 1.3 million, but he did antagonize. I think we can and like the antagonizing was funny, but like I think when you antagonize like that and rage bait people who have a lot of money and resources to good attorneys, like, you know, like I get it. I get it. Maybe the Coffeezilla approach is a little bit safer. Is it as entertaining? Probably not. Did we not expect Reckless Ben to be reckless? Good point, Lego. Good point. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Bam is supposed to be trusted to sell for you. Okay, fair. I don't know. I'm just like a big fan of like, bro, like why? I don't know. Maybe it's just easy. I guess the family was dealing with the dad having cancer or whatever thing that they needed to sell the Legos for in the first place to help pay for, but I don't know. Me personally, like, I'm always like, dude, if I have something of value, I'm going to sell it myself. But that's probably just my mindset.